It could be BBT Bhagavatam.
The first 10 or something, or 9, I guess.
No, all of them, all the volumes as they came out.
Oh, as they came out, got it. First editions of each volume.
Yeah.
Oh.
So anybody who wants to look into that, they can. Someone who would maybe want a Bhagavatam or be interested, please let me know. Kirtanesvara, anybody you know,
I could do the third set.
Congregational people. I just also got a new set. I just got my second set of Srimad Bhagavatams today. I'm happy. I got an Indian set with all the tiny volumes, which I really wanted.
Similar to the one I got?
Most similar, but all the volumes.
Right.
So that's really cool. It's like, yeah. So then you can carry it, And Mother Sudamini graciously gave that to me.
It's a compact size, but it has all 12.
Yeah. It's like 32 books. That's quite a lot of books, but it's better because you can carry it. You can carry your little part 1 of first canto or part 3 of third canto.
I have that set.
Yeah, that's the Indian BBT Bhagavatam set. I really wanted that. And actually, I was thinking I want to get one so bad, but I couldn't. And then Krishna Das Prabhu just showed up at the temple and was like, I'll trade you these for 4 plates of prasadam on Thanksgiving.
Oh.
I accepted it and I realized, oh my God, this is the Bhagavatam set I wanted. So I told Mother Sudamini, I will pay the $20 for the Bhagavatam set. And she said, you can just have it. So I was happy to take that. So then also, we have some nice new people at campus we met today, and then they're thinking about coming Sunday and so forth. But it's very important that, we go out, we do distribute, cards, and we tell people about Krishna Cove. But the biggest way to get people to come to Krishna Cove is, people you meet, inviting them as you see them, take cards, tell them about Govindas, and try to bring as many people here as possible. Because, just taking one person may be interested. One person may have a change of heart. And so, yeah.
If we gave that Dr. Jane that came an Ashtami, if we gave him a set of
I don't remember Dr. Jane for Janmashtami.
We brought all those college students and I did that tour with. Remember that? But I lost my place that week.
Oh, yeah.
We had like 30 students here in India.
I was here for Janmashtami. Was it Janmashtami or was it Govardhan Puja? Diwali.
It was Gauranga.
Okay, I was in India. Yeah, I was in India, so I was unaware. As we want to distribute ones to our friends up there and down there in Rio Rico too, we want to definitely bring them a nice, fresh, crispy set of Bhagavatams to help you.
Well, I'll sponsor a set for that one.
Okay, that's good. We got one sponsor. We like Vaisheshika and start.
Yes.
Fine off here. Who else is wanting to sponsor? Any of these brahmacharis or temple devotees want to sponsor set? Give up your prasadam for 2 weeks. What about you, Januna? You have your mom's prasad, you can
You can
survive.
pay when you work. You can pay later when you work.
We'll do it in stone.
Okay, so that's all. I just wanted to make that announcement. So since I knew it was going to be only devotees tonight, I was thinking I wanted to do something kind of unique, kind of for the devotees. And some of the devotees were in my Bhagavatam class on Tuesday. But not that I'm anything special, but it was a very inspiring topic. And Krishna somehow gave me some really nice shlokas to speak on Tuesday morning. And it was kind of like that. I just gave class last minute, and then I just like, I don't know what to do. Let me just go through the Bhagavatam, and this came out. But it really can formulate a nice class, and I think it's worth taking notes on because everybody can apply this.
Just this morning I was thinking, oh man, I wish I had taken notes. I'm going to have to talk to you about what those processes so I can write it down.
Mother Sudamini liked it so much that she actually took this book, copied the page, and asked me to write it down for her. So it was really sweet. So we're going to talk about empowerment and creativity today. We want to talk about the path of empowerment because people don't realize in the world that you have to be empowered to do anything. So with that being said, Om Jnana Tamarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshura Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurue Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeyam Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagadatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavani Ishwari Visubhanu Sute Devi Purnami Haripre Vancha Kalpatra Bhista Kripa Sindhibhye Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namaste Jivananda Yadasya Okay, so yeah, the path of empowerment. So everybody in this world wants to be empowered. If we don't think that we need to be empowered, we're in a kind of a delusional state. We think that, oh, I'm the doer. You have to be empowered to do everything. You have to be empowered to move your arm. You don't really know how you're moving your arms, how you're breathing, how you're blinking your eyes. All of this is done by automatic nature. We can move our arm, but if Krishna said no longer, we can't move our arm. So we need empowerment to become successful in any endeavor we do in this life. And so the first thing you have to do is understand who we are. And all the devotees have some basic understanding of that. Krishna, of course, says, Amai Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana Manastashtash Indriyani Prakriti Karshati. The living entities in this material world are my eternal fragmental parts. They are struggling very hard with the 6 senses, which include the mind. This is our position. But the first step in becoming empowered is understanding who we are. Anything we do, we have to understand who we are. Otherwise, we're not empowered by Krishna. We're indirectly empowered by Krishna, but we're actually empowered by the modes of nature. Krishna expresses this in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, text 27. He says that the living entities that are bewildered by false ego think themselves doers of activities that are in actuality performed by the modes of nature. So we can't think we're the doers. And if we want to become successful in Krishna consciousness, if we actually want to do anything, whether that be just make a preparation, or whether that be we want to, build a new temple, we cannot do it unless we have the proper consciousness that pleases Krishna and that allows us to receive that proper empowerment. And so we want to speak about empowering versus disempowering beliefs. Empowering beliefs are based on the understanding of who I am. An empowering belief is that I am part and parcel of Krishna. An empowering belief is that I am Sat Chit Ananda. An empowering belief is that I exist to give pleasure to the Lord, the source of all pleasure. This is the nature of my existence. And so we find a lot of people, they struggle with self-esteem. They struggle with feeling good enough. They struggle with not feeling confident in their activities of spiritual life or material life. And this is due to a lack of understanding. That lack of understanding is that we don't realize who we are. If we actually understood I'm part and parcel of Krishna, there is no question of insecurity. So a devotee who has realized he lives on the platform of intrinsic value. You have intrinsic value. You don't have to achieve anything in this material world to make yourself valuable. It's not about how much money you have. It's not about how successful you are. It's not about any type of material achievement. That is simply based on your false ego. You have intrinsic value. And if you realize that, you've already achieved all there is to achieve. So if you've achieved all there is to achieve, all that's left is just extra for love, for the sake of service, for the sake of joy. but you are yourself the achievement, the goal. So people don't realize this. They don't have intrinsic value. Therefore, they take shelter of disempowering belief systems. What's a disempowering belief system? One is that I'm simply made of matter. I'm just a body. And my ultimate destination is to be ashes. My ultimate destination is to be, food for the animals. We know what happens to food for the animals. Or my ultimate destination is to be, buried underground, turned into worms. So this is a disempowering belief. Another disempowering belief is taking shelter of temporary identities like country. I always think one of the most disempowering beliefs is that we grow up in this country learning that freedom means you have the right to choose between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. That's your freedom. This is your liberation. This is your freedom. This is kind of a total disempowering belief, 100% disempowering, that this is what I believe freedom is. You're actually eternal fragment of God, and these two politicians have nothing to do with you. I'm not saying you don't vote. I don't vote. I'm not saying you shouldn't vote. I'm not putting that out there, but I am saying that getting caught in this and getting caught in this conception is a disempowering belief system. We want to have empowering belief systems, and those empowering belief systems must be based on spiritual knowledge. And so we don't generally speak of affirmations in terms of Krishna consciousness, but it's very important that we do affirm ourselves as part and parcels of the Supreme Lord. And we affirm that we're not this body. My spiritual master consistently and constantly affirms this fact to himself, that I am part and parcel of Krishna. And therefore I'm unaffected by the modes of material nature. We have a tendency to become disempowered by identifying with the mind. The mind is feeling envious. The mind is feeling lusty. The mind is feeling angry. The mind is feeling sad. And therefore we start to say, I'm sad. I'm envious. I'm angry. I'm lazy. Devotees do this all the time too. It's very common. Prabhu, I'm the most fallen. I'm this, I'm that. And in this way, they simply disempower themselves, thinking that I'm being humble. We don't want to compare ourselves to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who said, I'm lower than the worms in the stool, thinking that we're on that level. In our case, we want to follow the instructions of Bhagavad Gita. Simply understanding I'm part and parcel of Krishna. And the reason that I'm lower than the straw on the street is not because I'm all these things, but simply because I've turned away from Krishna. I've turned away from Krishna. And real humility means understanding that I'm infinitesimal and Krishna is infinite. And as we become more and more aware of Krishna, more and more in knowledge of what this spiritual, beautiful, loving, and kind Krishna, who he is, then we become more and more aware of ourselves. We become humbler and humbler. And there's an example given by one Christian saint, Orthodox Christian saint from the desert, in regards to this. And he was asked, you're the most saintly person we've ever seen. Why is it you feel yourself so fallen? And he gave an example, because they were living in one city, and this is like Roman Empire times, right? So they were living in a small village in the desert. He was saying, if you were a rich man here, or take the richest man in this neighborhood, and he is very rich, and he feels himself very rich, but when he goes to Constantinople, how rich is he? So no, he's not very rich. He's actually just a regular person. And when he goes to Rome, how rich is he? Well, in Rome, he would just be a poor person. So in that way, as we become closer to Krishna, we realize actually we're smaller and smaller and smaller, because Krishna is infinite. This is the nature of realizing Krishna's glories. So we want to have empowering beliefs. That we don't want to identify with our narthas. We want to identify ourselves as part and parcels of Krishna. The more we identify with the narthas, the more we're going to have to suffer. Because we have to play the role of, we don't want to be puffed up and start thinking I'm a pure devotee. That's not also the case. We're simply a servant of Krishna. This is our nature. So we have to have the who right. We got to have the who right. Who are we? We're parts and parcels of Krishna. And what control do we have over our reality? It's very important we understand that. What is my role in this whole thing? So we are not the creators and we're not the doers, but we can say at least that we're the co-creators of our reality. Because Krishna is fulfilling our desires based on desire. It's stated by Krishna, Upadrasta Numantascha Bhakta Bhakta Maheshvara Paramatmeti Chapyuto Dehismin Purusha Paraha. Krishna is describing to Arjuna in the 13th chapter. He said that in this body there's another transcendental enjoyer known as the super soul. So you exist as the soul, and then there's the super soul. And he exists as the overseer and the permitter. So Krishna is overseeing and he's permitting everything that we do. So anything we want, Krishna has to permit it. And so it's described in the Ishopanishad that Krishna is fulfilling everybody's desire since time immemorial. So if we have a desire, Krishna will make every effort to fulfill that desire, but we also have to have the karma, to have the punya, to have that desire fulfilled. But in that way, we're co-creators. So we are creating our existence, our life. We have the free will to desire and to, by the Lord's grace, but he's creating it, but by our desire, the Lord is creating a reality in which we want to live in or which we don't want to live in. And if we don't have control of our minds, if we don't have control of our senses, then we're like that picture in the Bhagavad Gita. There's the senses and the horses, and then there's the mind, and then there's the passenger. And we're like the scared passenger because the mind and the senses are in control. And therefore, we're identifying with them, and the Lord is fulfilling. He's obliged to fulfill. Oh, you want to suffer? Here's suffering. I'll give you unlimited suffering. So we want to speak about creativity, because creativity is essential, part of Krishna consciousness. We create prasadam, we dress deities, we do projects. We're offering something to Krishna. When you're going to offer something, that takes creativity, that takes love. Not just a mechanical thing we're doing. We're trying to do a good job, and therefore we have to put some creative effort into it. And so creativity, if you study it, what it is an expression of love and inspiration. Even the most basic form of creativity, which is like biological creativity, is still based on inspiration. That we're inspired by God's beauty. Even a boy sees a beautiful girl and he's inspired, I want to be with this beautiful girl. This is also inspiration. I'm inspired to have children with this person on some subconscious level. So that energy can be redirected by being inspired by the Supreme Lord to create anything in service to him. And we see that pure devotees, Krishna fulfills their desires to serve. How do I want to serve? And so in this way, all the creativity in the world is a form of being inspired by the natural beauty which Krishna has put into everything. Everything is beautiful because Krishna's fingerprints are in everything. One Swami, he says that every atom is an embassy of God, because Krishna lives in every single atom. So even on the biological level, someone feels inspired and then the creative thing happens and babies come. And then on a higher level, we feel inspired by beauty. We hear something, we see something, we paint a picture, let me do something. And so the highest beauty is Krishna, and that's the highest expression of our creativity. Let me do something for Krishna. So Krishna is the supreme creator. Everything is being created by Krishna. Everything is being done by Krishna. You can give the example that somehow or another we have free will and we get to live out our lives, but simultaneously we're also always in Krishna's will. I think of the example, I never heard this in the Shastra or in Prabhupada's book, but it's the example that I kind of rationalize, is that there's a flowing river. And in that river, there's so many fish. And the fish can do so many things. They can, red fish, blue fish. They can do so many things. One fish, two fish. They have some nice interactions with each other. And they're doing so many things, but their ultimate destination is the same. They're not stopping the flow of the river. So in that way, Krishna, he's the ultimate flow. So he's the creator of everything. Everything we create is also created by Krishna. Krishna has to give us that inspiration. Sarvashuchaham hridishani visto matasmritir jnanam apohanam cha. From me comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. And I am situated in everyone's heart. So if we get inspired to create something, to do anything, Krishna has to give us that knowledge to do it. So thinking that we're the doer is the most arrogant thing ever. And so that basically, pulls the root out of, thinking I'm anything special. So humility is a very important factor in doing any type of service and being successful, because you're all devotees and you're all trying to do something for Krishna, whether it be big or small. We want you to be successful. That's why, Krishna Cove exists. We want people to become successful in their devotional service. And we want people to go back home, back to Godhead. And, you'll be happier the more you can express your love for Krishna. That's why depression exists, is people are not feeling like they're able to express their true love. So in the Bhagavatam, there is a moment. This is considered the primary verses of Bhagavatam, second canto. And these verses constitute everything in the Bhagavatam. From them, everything else grows. And so two of those verses, one is Aham evasam evagre nan yad yat sat asatparam pashtahad yat etachcha yo vashasheshta sosyaham. Krishna says that I am beyond the cause and the effect. In this world, there's like a cause and an effect. But Krishna is beyond that cause and effect. He's the one who started the ball rolling. I existed in the beginning, before there was a creation. Only I exist in the middle. And at the end, only I will remain. So in this way, we can understand that Krishna is the creator of everything that exists. And how does this apply to us? The very next verse, Krishna says, Ritartam yat pratiyeta, na pratiyeta chatmani, tadvidi, forgetting the part. The next line is, yata baso yata tamaha. Tadvidi atmano maya, tadvidi atmano maya, yata baso yata tamaha. Krishna is explaining that everything in this world that doesn't have connection to me is completely illusion. It's not real. It's a reflection of ignorance in darkness. So whatever we're doing, if it's not connected to Krishna, we should understand it's an illusion. It has no reality. Everything connected to Krishna is real. And so with that being said, I want to speak about the ultimate creator, Lord Brahma. The Lord Brahma is the creator of the universe. That's a big piece of art, he created. Very wonderful. It's a big service he's doing. And so he's managing his life. He's managing this universe. He's creating this universe. He's offering this universe. And he himself is a great devotee, pure devotee of the Lord, and the head of our Sampradaya. He's the guru of Narada Muni. So there's so many things we can learn from this lesson, that Brahma, how to manage, how to create, how to endeavor in Krishna consciousness, and then what's the proper mood. And with that being said, we're going to go into this section of the Bhagavatam with 9 steps as to the proper consciousness by which we can endeavor in Krishna consciousness and be successful. There are 9 very, very beautiful steps. Where's my bookmark? Here somewhere. There. So with that being said, Lord Brahma, he was born just like everybody else in the darkness of ignorance. And being born in the darkness of ignorance, he was, of course, born from the lotus flower, going from the navel of Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. And so Lord Brahma awakened in the void, in the darkness of his existence. And he did not know who he was. So the very first thing is he looked in all 4 directions, trying to figure out, who am I? Where do I come from? But he was unsuccessful. And our acharyas give the purport to this, that his looking represents our jnana, trying to figure it out on our own. We can't figure it out on our own. And so that's not going to be successful. Then he decides to trace out the lotus stem. So he starts going down the lotus stem and trying to figure out where I came from, but he's unsuccessful. And so this also shows that our own endeavor alone is unsuccessful. So Brahma was unsuccessful in two ways. And then he heard one phrase. He got one instruction. Tapa. So he surrendered to that instruction. So the very first step is surrendering to that instruction of the spiritual personality. Tapa. So he did tapas for many, many thousands of celestial years. And then upon his success, after being successful in his meditation, so the first stage, right, is well, not the first official step, but sadhana. He's doing sadhana, good sadhana, to become successful. What kind of success can you expect if you don't have good sadhana? So he starts this good sadhana. He does this tapa. And then he sees the Lord. And he begins to pray. And his prayers are very, very deep in this part of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And they will teach us how to approach the Lord in the proper way. So the very first thing he says is, empower me. Lord Brahma prays for empowerment. So everything we do, we should pray for empowerment. This is the most important element of becoming empowered, is asking for empowerment. If you want to be empowered to cook, pray for empowerment. If you want to be empowered to chant better, pray for empowerment. If you want to be empowered to preach, pray for empowerment. If you want to be empowered to take care of your family, pray for empowerment. You can't do anything without Krishna's empowerment. So just like there's so much food available, yet we still offer it to Krishna. We know it's Krishna's, but we're offering it to Krishna. So the empowerment is there. We're empowered to do anything. So we can be Krishna conscious by realizing every little thing we do, we have to take shelter of Krishna. Like I said, in India, it becomes more evident because it's just so difficult to do small things there sometimes. Getting the mail could take, all day long. So you pray to Krishna, help me here. So he prays, you endowed with 6 opulences are the friend and maintainer of all. Please empower me with introspection to create, for I am also one of the surrendered souls. So he's praying, please empower me with the introspection to create. We're getting this prayer. Let me have this power to do this. Step 2. He prays, protect me from false ego. So first, step 1, empower me to create. Step 2, protect me from false ego. What's the false ego? Thinking I'm the doer. So if we're trying to do sadhana, sometimes it's common, we get a little advancement and we think, I'm great, and then, all of a sudden we're fired up and then Krishna's like, nope, not going to keep that. Because you have to be completely aware that is Krishna maintaining this, not me. So protect me from false ego. He says, Esha prapana varado ramayat mashakya yad yat kashyati grihita gunavaratara tasmin svavikramamidam shrajato picheto yunjita karma samalam chayata vijayam. You are the benefactor of surrendered souls, endowed with your power. When I create this universe, I wish not to be materially affected by my works and be able to give up the false ego, prestige, and honor of being the creator. So he's praying, don't let me think I'm the doer of this. Don't let me think that I've created this. Don't let me, be caught up in false prestige. In this way, he's praying. So step 2, protect me from false ego. Step 3, he's praying to save me from deviation. Save me from deviation, save me from distraction. He says, in the course of manifesting your diverse energies in the form of the cosmic manifestation, may I not be deviated from the vibration of the Vedic hymns. So, yes.
Can you just tell me what step 1 through 3 is? That's as far as you got, right?
Yeah. Empower me? No. One is empowerment. Sadhana was the precursor, it's the womb. Empowerment?
Pray for empowerment.
Yeah. Protection from false ego. And step 3 is save me from deviation. So we all have a tendency to be deviated, no? From the Vedic instructions. So we should take shelter in the scripture, not be deviated from that Vedic instruction. That Vedic sound vibration is the guide of our life. And so we don't want to be deviated. We don't want to taste the nectar of deviation. We want to taste the nectar of devotion. So let me not be deviated. In the course of maintaining your device energies, may I not be deviated from the vibration of the Vedic hymns. So we always want to remain sheltered in the Guru Sadhu Shastra. This is our mission in life. So let me not be deviated. Step 4. We're asking Krishna to bless us, to smile upon us. This is a very famous verse we chant actually before we go on the altar, at least at this temple. It's on the wall. It's on the door of the altar. So Savabhadra Kuno Bhagavan Vireda Premas Mitena Nayanam Bruram Brijaban Utaya Vishva Vishtaya Yachano Vishadam Madhya Gira Payanatat Purusha Parana. He says, he's praying actually, Lord, give me your smiling glance. Open your eyes upon me. We're praying to Krishna for his mercy. Thus, having prayed as far as his mind and words would permit him, Brahma became silent. May the Lord, who is the supreme, the oldest, unlimitedly merciful, smilingly bestow his benediction by opening his lotus eyes. He can uplift the entire cosmic creation and dispel my sorrow by speaking his sweet directions. So this way he's praying, look at me, give me your mercy. And so those are the steps for prayer. Now Krishna is going to give some other instructions, some further steps.
These are the 4 steps for prayer.
These are the steps that we should pray before we start. But Krishna is going to give some further steps here.
Start with silence.
Before we start creating.
Oh.
So
These are 9 steps for empowered creativity.
Yeah.
These are the first 4 of the 9 steps.
Yeah.
Up to empowerment, up to creativity.
Empowerment to manage, empowerment to do anything. So then Krishna, amazing thing happens. An amazing thing happens. And Krishna comes and he shakes Brahma's hand. And he says, don't be depressed and don't be anxious. That's a real boon, right? Don't be depressed and don't be anxious about the execution of creation. What you are begging for has already been granted. So if we pray in that mood, if we get the 4 steps right, Krishna is saying, don't be depressed and don't be anxious. So in any of our endeavors, in any of our endeavors, don't be depressed and don't be anxious. This is the Lord's mercy that I'm working for you. Don't let me depressed and don't let me be anxious. Krishna is shaking your hand. Good handshake, huh? Yeah, I always think it's the 4-armed form of Krishna. It's like one of those 4 hands is shaking. So then step 6. What is giving us shelter is this knowledge and austerity, tapa and vidya. Krishna says, by situating yourself in penance and knowledge, you will receive my favor, Madhashrayam, and thus understand from within your heart everything regarding the position of the planet. So by situating ourselves in first tapa, meaning we must be austere. Everything we do requires some austerity if we want to become successful. And that's up to the individual in that endeavor, but there's always going to be some austerity involved. And vidya means knowledge. What's that knowledge? Knowing that you're not this body, knowing that Krishna is in control, Krishna is the Lord. Situate yourself in knowledge. How's the best way to situate yourself in knowledge? Hearing and chanting. Let me hear and chant properly. Step 7. This is how we should take shelter of bhakti. Bhakti gives us transcendental vision. Being absorbed. Step 7 is being absorbed in bhakti, trying to be absorbed. And Krishna says, by complete absorption in devotional service, bhakti yukta samahitaha, during your creative activities, you will see me in you, the universe and all living entities. You will see yourself, the universe and all living entities in me. Only then will you be free from all illusion. So Krishna is saying, by being fully absorbed in bhakti, you'll see me everywhere and you'll see everything in me. By being fully absorbed.
I have that verse like next to it.
Oh yeah? Krishna's arrangement. So full absorption. We have to strive for full absorption. The best way to get full absorption is to, and this is experiential, I'm saying, that if you chant really well and you become fully absorbed in your japa, then the rest of the day is easy to be fully absorbed in things related to Krishna. We need full absorption. And absorption doesn't mean I'm just, mechanically doing service. It means actually I'm offering my mind to Krishna in this service. So full absorption. Step 8, giving up false ego. Give up the bodily conception of life. And the verse is, when you are free from bodily conception and the influence of the modes, you will realize your pure form and attain relationship with me in one of the rasas. This is step 8. We need to give up false ego. Give up the bodily conception of life. Realize that I'm working for Krishna. That I'm doing this for Krishna and that I'm Krishna's servant. I'm spiritual. This is the last step. The last step is to take responsibility for your service and take responsibility for your actions in Krishna consciousness. Don't simply, if someone gives you a service, if the guru or the temple president or the spiritual master or spiritual authority gives you a service and you simply do it just because you're told to and you want to, get your prasadam, earn your prasadam, then, you'll get some punya, you'll get some sukriti, agyata sukriti. But the real thing is taking responsibility, expanding your service. So Krishna says, since you desire to serve by expanding the population, you shall never be deprived in this service, and my mercy on you will continually increase. It's a good deal here. So when you have a service and you think, now I'm going to offer this, I'm going to not only do it, I'm going to do it extra, I'm going to expand it, I'm going to put my mind to it, I'm going to take responsibility for it. When that is our consciousness, Krishna says, you will never be deprived in your success. And we see this. We see this in empowered devotees, just like our dearly beloved Parameshvara Prabhu will be here soon. Greatest book distributor who ever lived. And he's taken full possession of that service. So anytime we have a service, we have to take full possession of it, that this is the service Krishna has given me. Let me take responsibility for it. Let me make it a mission and watch how the empowerment happens. Prabhupada also, he took full possession of that order of Bhaktisiddhanta and boom, he was empowered. We need to take responsibility. So those are the 9 steps. And then there's some palashruti. What happens if you do this? What happens if you follow these 9 steps? So Krishna says, Rajagun will never bind you if you pray in this way. Pause for a moment. I think there's a pasta in the front warmer, and then there's some like tofu in the back warmer. Then whatever the sweet and sour.
Can try to cheat and copy my notes.
They might not need you if you want to hear. You don't ever say they probably haven't. They're probably good. There's only a few people. Probably good.
Just because you don't want you to copy my notes.
I can see that you're seriously listening. Yes.
Are the 9 steps in those central verses in Canto 2, Chapter 9, or are you kind of pulling these?
No, these are 9 consecutive verses.
On what chapter?
Chapter 9 of 3rd canto.
Oh, 3rd canto.
Yeah.
Chapter 9 of 3rd canto.
Yeah, we did go. I did start at the 2nd canto because the whole thing is a big long run from the 2nd to 3rd canto. This whole pastime, but these verses are in the 3rd canto.
Those nutshell verses in chapter.
The Chatur Sloki are canto 2, chapter 9, text 33, 36. Yeah.
Okay. But you're pulling from a bigger.
But these verses that I've been following, these 9 steps, they're in canto 9. They're in canto 3, chapter 9.
And what? Chapter 9.
Brahma's prayers. They're verses 22 through 28.
What? Can you repeat it? Chapter.
Actually, I'm sorry. 22 through 33.
What?
Canto 3, chapter
22 to 30.
Yeah. And some of these verses are grouped together, so that's why it's telling me steps.
Lord Brahma's prayers, right?
Yeah. And then there's also some of Krishna's responses in there. But some of the verses are just like Lord Brahma bowed his head, after praying. That's not a step. So.
9. And can you tell me the difference between 2 and
And 9
8?
or 8.
2 and 8.
So 2 is we pray to be delivered from false ego, and then 8 is when we actually do it.
Give up false ego, yeah.
This is protect. Protect from
Protect me, yeah. Protect me. Pray to give it up. Take the essence.
giving up.
And so there's some beautiful, beautiful parts here that Krishna says that the Rajagun will never bind you if you act like this. By fixing your mind on me, the vicious mode of passion will not bind you, although you are engaged in creation. So we all have to be a little passionate sometimes to run a temple, to distribute books, to work in the kitchen, to deal with the customers at the restaurant. We always got to be. There's a little passion, but if we are in this mood, then we'll never be bound by that vicious mode of passion. And then he says, all that is unknowable will become known. He says, although I am difficult to be understood, you understand my personality because you know that my form constitutes nothing material. So all that is knowable becomes known. And then he says, I'm so pleased by this description of me. I'm pleased by this prayer. He says, as I am the Lord of all benediction, I will fulfill all desires of one who prays regularly like you and thus worships me. Krishna is stating that I will fulfill all desires of one who prays like this, who prays in this mood and thus worships me. So these steps are not, there's exact prayers, but these steps are that we pray in this way. We ask for empowerment. We ask to not be affected by false ego. We don't deviate from the Vedas. We ask the Lord's grace and mercy. Let's not be anxious. Let's not be depressed. Let us be enthused. Situate ourselves in austerity and knowledge. Give up our false ego and take responsibility for our service. If we act and pray in this way, then we'll become successful in Krishna consciousness. We'll become successful in our endeavors to do things in Krishna's service. And so this is the message of how to become empowered according to Lord Brahma. How do we actually become empowered? And this isn't just apply for creation. This also applies for managing, because Lord Brahma is managing the universe. He's managing his creation. He's doing so many things. And it's not just creating, we want to create a piece of art or we want to create, a temple. It's also creating a sadhana for ourselves, creating a preparation for the kitchen, creating a life in Krishna consciousness, managing and creating our lives in Krishna consciousness. And so, the message is more and more that we should fully surrender to Krishna. We should be more and more surrendered, take more and more shelter, be more and more dependent on the Lord's mercy, that I'm not the doer. And the mode of passion, it always, it burns. It'll burn you so fast. You'll say the wrong thing, you'll do the wrong thing, and just a little slip. And so we want to be protected from that. We want to be protected from this false ego because it really causes so much damage in our lives and our relationships. And Krishna is so unpleased. We see that when Srimati Radharani herself was being carried by Krishna in the rasa dance. They found her in the forest just sitting alone because she became prideful. Thinking, I'm the most beautiful gopi. And so in that way, we really have to avoid that consciousness of thinking I'm the doer. And there's so many examples in my life for whenever I think I'm the doer, how I get smashed, and how when I don't, I get, mercy. When I was in Mayapur once, I was thinking, I like to sing, and they asked me to lead the Tulsi Puja. And I was like thinking, I was so puffed up in my mind somehow. I was thinking, And then I was thinking, Jagannath and Shanta, and they're all watching, Then I was like, Tulsi Krishna Prayasi Namo Nama. And that's all I remembered of the whole song. I literally had no memory of the whole song. It just was taken out of my mind. And there was nothing I can do. It was like I could not possibly get it back. They had to tell me the lyrics, and it was so embarrassing. It was like this horrible. It was a horrible embarrassment. Actually, I sang instead of Radha Krishna Seva Pabo E Abhilasi. I sang Tulsi Krishna Prayasi Namo Namo Shri Shri Radha Govinda Prema. I said that's in the last line, the first verse. So, I sang the very last line of the song in the very first verse, and it was just like right in front of, the 3,000 devotees in the Mayapur temple, really. I remember I was like, I like the Prabhu who's in charge of the kirtan, like I just was like, well, Krishna says, Mata Smriti Granam Aponam Cha, and so it, of course, I sing Tulsi Puja like, 3 times a week, but somehow or another, my memory was taken. I apologize, Prabhu. Like, Hare Krishna. I hope I don't ever see you again, like, if I ever want to look. And then I thought, oh, I'll never, do this. But then next time I was asked to sing Guru Puja. And I remember I was just like, looking at, Radha Madhava thinking like, I am not doing this. Like, please, begging them, free me from false ego. I'm, it's up to you if I mess up or remember. I'm doing this as a service to you, and just praying in that way that I don't deserve to be doing this. And then it was such a beautiful experience for me. It was a beautiful reciprocation with the Lord to be able to sing in Mayapur and enliven the devotees. And there's so many experiences I've had like that in terms of just that particular thing. Like we were in Kharagpur, and I was with His Grace Radheshan Prabhu, very famous devotee, and Acharya Ratna Prabhu, who was just here, and we traveled from Mayapur to Kharagpur. Kharagpur is where the main IIT campus is, the main, very, very prestigious, like the Harvard of India. And so we were doing a program there, and so I was in this auditorium, and there was all these people, professors and students and devotees, and I was on this big stage, and I was like leading a kirtan, with just the microphone, like, I was like in rock star mode. But I was thinking the whole time of this Bible verse, it's not me who lives, but He who lives in me. And just thinking that this is not me, this is Krishna, this is my spiritual master, this is the parampara that is doing this through me. And in that consciousness, it's amazing how much Krishna will just turn up your level of empowerment more and more and more, because the more we get out of the way, the more we get out of the way, the more the empowerment turns up. And so if someone's empowered to do something in Krishna consciousness, we can never be envious. We can never think, oh, because, anybody who's spreading Krishna consciousness, Krishna is giving them that. That's all there is to it. There's no doubt about it. And so to that degree, they're in touch with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirms that. And so therefore we have to respect everybody who's endeavoring to serve Krishna. And so this mood, really, when it pervades our service, when it pervades everything, these steps, everything we do, it creates in us the perfect mood of a devotee. It creates in us the ability to do everything in Krishna consciousness and be successful and have that desire to serve. So, we want everybody to be successful in their desire to serve Krishna. And we want everybody to take responsibility and become a leader in some way, shape, or form in Krishna consciousness. You have that ability, whether you're, big service or small service, people are looking at you, people are seeing you, and, you are affecting people. And so it can be very hard. Sometimes it can be very challenging, and we're not going to be Brahma. But in any case, we can be successful if we have that right and proper mood. So we can have some discussion. And I think they're going to serve prasadam. Kirtanesvara saw first.
Yeah, I think that these steps are kind of easier said than done. Because I have so much anxiety around service that I do for the temple. That you're like, oh, you want this to be done right. You want to do a really good job. So it's kind of a lot of pressure. And even if you don't go into it with that, things aren't going the way you want them to, then you can have the anxiety and the depression, and you want to take responsibility. But if it doesn't turn out as good as you thought, you know, you have to take responsibility for it. And it's like, well, you tried, you did your best, but it still didn't turn out the way.
Yeah. So there's a way in Krishna consciousness to avoid this. And this is basically, we apply the principles of karma yoga in our bhakti yoga. Because when we're depressed and we're anxious, and it's natural to get a little anxious about service, and this is understandable. Brahma was anxious. That's why Krishna said, don't be anxious. And he was anxious to do a good job and not be caught in false ego. He was anxious to serve Krishna. But how do we avoid this consciousness? What is that? We do the proper thing is rather than focusing on the fruits, because that's generally what we're caught up in the idea of, I got to do a good job. I got to do, and make sure this is right. We're thinking about that end in mind, in work. Whereas karma yoga means rather than focusing on the result, we're focusing on the work at hand. And that actually empowers us to do a better job than we would otherwise. So, whatever we're doing, let me focus on the work. Let me focus on that actual work, that endeavor. And just let me think about what's in front of me. And I'll be okay for now. I'm just finish my talking maybe after. Let me just focus on this work for what's in front of me. And in that way, it greatly reduces our anxiety. Because the result is up to Krishna. And if we have that mentality that I'm focusing on what I'm doing here and now, if we have that mentality, what happens is we're knowing that I'm doing everything I can in this moment, and I can only do as much as I'm empowered to do, and whatever the result is, that belongs to Krishna. And so that really frees us from that anxiety about, oh, it's not going to be good. Because if we're thinking about the result, then we're actually thinking I'm the doer. That's ultimately the case. And yeah, we do take responsibility if something goes wrong. That's also part of Krishna consciousness. We take responsibility that, oh, I could have done better. But at the same time, we don't let it pollute us. We still understand that even if you do everything wrong, if that endeavor was done in Krishna consciousness, then you will taste. And this is practical. It's not that theoretical. Like if you do like this in this consciousness, you will not feel anxious. You will feel happy even though you failed. You'll feel happy even though you failed. Like this whole George Harrison concert. Such an anxiety. I was like, I didn't want to do it at all. And, Mother Sundamini was like, do it anyway. And I was like, okay. And I was so anxious about it. But once I read this kind of philosophy, I applied it, let me just focus on the work. Let me just do the practice. And, by the time the concert came around, I had no worries about what the result was going to be, because I felt I got so much bliss from doing the service that it was already successful. I had so much ecstasy just doing the service, of practicing, of learning these songs, that the result was meaningless. I could have gone up there and forgotten every song, and I still would have felt I was successful. So that came from, I applied this philosophy. I'm focusing on the work. And if I'm focusing on the work, I'm doing the best I can, then the result is ultimately up to Krishna. And that's, the example given by Prabhupada is, you have the best doctor, still a person may die. I think I was speaking to someone the other day, they were saying, modern medicine is so amazing. I said, yeah, it's really amazing. But what's more amazing is that even though it's so amazing, if Krishna wants to kill someone, no one can save them. No matter how good it is. And even you see sometimes people are perfectly healthy and still medicines just don't work. So, yeah, of course, it's not easy to follow the footsteps of the acharyas. So we just, we do our best. But, the preliminary steps to that, don't be anxious and don't be a depressed verse. Those preliminary steps about, praying for empowerment, giving up the false ego. Because think about it, we can have either a deflated false ego or we can have an inflated false ego. An inflated false ego thinks I'm doing it. I'm doing great. I'm the best. That deflated false ego thinks I'm the worst. I'm a failure. That's also a false ego.
Right.
That's just the other side of the coin. We don't want to have any false ego. It means I'm not the doer. It's up to Krishna. And this doesn't change the consequences. Like failing doesn't feel good, like winning does. But matra sparshas takonteya sitoshna sukha dukkha da agamayo payino nityas tams tatiksha bharata. Tatiksha, we must be tolerant. We have to tolerate that happiness, that distress, that loss or gain, and continue on with the service. Anything else? Oh, probably Minnie had something.
So how does this, with you not being the doer, I get that, but then there's the 5 factors of action. So can you talk a little bit about how you merge the 5 factors? The 5 factors, one of them is that there's 5 factors that have to happen for action to happen. And one of them is you. You are the person doing the action.
Yeah.
So there has to be like a really strong separation between I'm not the doer, but I'm still kind of sort of the doer because I am part of this.
Well, the ultimate, Krishna clarifies, ultimately the super soul makes that clarification. Ultimately, the super soul is the final factor of action. It's the main factor. Ultimately, the super soul. And so, you take responsibility for the desire, or you take responsibility for the fact that you're in this position because you've entangled yourself. That's the responsibility that we have. That we take responsibility for, like, I'm in this position because of my own, forgetfulness of Krishna. We take responsibility in that regard. But we don't accept that we are the only doer. And in that section of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, one who's foolish, he thinks himself the only doer.
Right.
So there's a part of it that is you, but still, ultimately, the super soul, you're being empowered. And so on the ultimate level, we're never the doers. We're never the doers. And so, therefore, in this verse, chapter 9, text 31, I think, this famous verse, Apichet Sudaracharo Bhajate Mamananyabak Sadareva Samadhavya Samyak Gavishito Saha, that even if one commits the most abominable action, he's to be considered saintly if he's fixed in devotional service to me, because he's set in his determination, and he quickly becomes righteous and achieves lasting peace. The way this works is that, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur delineates that, the devotee may find himself, Prabhupada in this purport explains how the devotee may find himself acting very piously according to the scriptures, or may appear, in the service of Krishna to do something abominable, or, have some type of fall down deviation, or even in the service of Krishna, you may end up doing something that's kind of weird. And I think any devotees who lived at the temple for some time have found themselves in a position where we're doing some weird things in the service of Krishna that we never normally do. And so in that case, the devotee doesn't try to avoid the consequences. He doesn't say, he doesn't make an excuse. He doesn't say, it's because he takes full responsibility. Yeah, I deserve whatever I get. And, I feel bad. I don't want to be doing this. And in that way, he simply waits for Krishna's mercy, but he knows that I am part and parcel of Krishna. And because he's surrendered to Krishna, he transcends all reaction. You see, the idea is that I found myself entangled here. Realization. Second is, it's up to you, Krishna. If you want me to go to hell, who am I to argue with that? And so in that way, the devotee is always on the spiritual platform, and therefore he transcends, he crosses over this material illusion. He crosses over this sense. Like there's another verse in the 4th canto where it says, even if one is to be considered the most sinful of all sinners, if he's situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, he can cross over the ocean of nescience. So the idea is that even if we're the most sinful of all sinners, if we understand that I'm not this body, I'm not the doer, then we'll transcend. And there's examples, practical examples in the Bhagavatam of this. One example is Chitraketu Maharaj. Chitraketu Maharaj, he offended Lord Shiva, or offended Parvati Devi by laughing at Lord Shiva. And so in that offending Lord Shiva, what did he do when he was cursed? He didn't do anything. He said, I accept this. I accept that whatever happens, I have no fear. And Parikshit, there's so many examples. Devotees find themselves. And my favorite example is, of course, Same for example, Vritrasura is Chitraketu Maharaj. So Vritrasura was totally engaged by the modes of material nature and being a demon. He was a demon, but he didn't want to be a demon. He was just so entangled. But internally, he was always thinking of Krishna, let me out of this. And so he understood that, I'm yours and I'm here because of my own desires, my own polluted turning against you. I deserve much worse than this. And so although he was fighting Indra, although he knew he was going to die, we went right back to Godhead. So in that way, we understand. All right, thank you, Kirtan. Thank you for the Kirtan. In that way, we understand that first, I'm not the doer, but I am, in a sense, it's my fault I'm here. It's my fault I'm entangled in seeing this and being a part of this. So I have my part to play, but ultimately it's the super soul. And so if we're aware of that, and we have this idea that no matter what happens, I'm not going to give you up, Krishna, then we transcend all those activities.
Yeah, I guess my question is basically along the same line, which is that, the rascal part of me always thinks, like, I'm not the doer. Well, then, I should just continue with my bad habits, and then, and ultimately they'll be eventually ironed out,
Well, here's the fact of the matter is, like, even if you sometimes, we've all experienced this. I know you have, and I know I have. Maybe not all devotees have, but have you ever been doing something that you really don't want to do, yet you're like totally kind of addicted to it, and you're thinking, previous,
I've never done that.
coming to Krishna consciousness times, we're like, I literally hate this right now. I hate every moment of this, but the modes are like forces of lust, and the modes are forcing me to do this, And it's like, Krishna, I don't want this, But the thing is we get, the tendency is these activities make us identify with the body. But if someone is strong enough to realize, this is what they teach in a lot, like the Buddhists and the people who are trying to get over addiction through spiritual medicine. The first thing they teach is, if you have some type of compulsive activity, where it be smoking cigarettes, illicit sex, whatever it is, like in that compulsive activity, you should try to realize some separation, that actually, like, this is not, the mind is all involved in this, but actually it doesn't really feel so great, and they build some separation there. And that transcendental knowledge, Krishna says, the sinful reaction is burned in the fire of knowledge. So simply by knowing that I'm not this body, although I'm forced to engage in this way, that sinful reaction is burned up by the fire of knowledge. Now, we don't encourage this jnana. It's like, it's very difficult to attain, but through devotional service, one develops jnana very fast. That means if you chant Hare Krishna, even if you're, full of sin, even if you can't control your senses, even if you, all these things, you'll quickly become righteous and attain lasting peace. Because you'll develop that knowledge. You'll develop the idea, the understanding, and the conviction that although I'm engaged in all this nonsense, I am part and parcel of Krishna. I don't want to be doing this. And therefore, that fire of knowledge and that fire of bhakti and that fire of repentance burns away those reactions. It burns away those habits. Those habits actually disappear in a devotee. And there's a shloka where Krishna is speaking to Uddhava in the 11th canto. He says, even if my devotee, is still addicted to sense gratification, sinful activities, he should not become depressed. He says, don't become depressed, because he says, actually, you should be fully conscious that every type of sense gratification and every single material attachment in this world leads only to suffering. You should be fully convinced of that. But simultaneously, even if you can't give it up, engage in my service, and you will give it up. But we should be fully convinced that, whatever it is, all material things are ultimately destined to be suffering.
There's hope.
So, but does that make sense, though, that this fire of knowledge, that even if, like you said, if I'm not the doer, why should I stop? Well, then the general thing is that in that consciousness, we start identifying with the body anyways, because we think, I need this, I need this, I need this. But if the devotee can have that sense of, I hate doing this, I really hate this right now, I despise the fact that I'm attracted to sense gratification. That's the conscience of a devotee. The devotee thinks, I want this sense object. I want this material situation. I don't want to just be a Paramahamsa. I have this, but I hate it. And I will never pray to Krishna to fulfill that desire. That's a pure devotee. Like, oh, Krishna, help me find this nice, beautiful girl. Oh, Krishna, help. Immediately, that's deep Maya. But the devotee always thinks, Krishna, I don't want this. I do not want this. Therefore, simply help me. Give me what I need to help me come to you, whatever that may be. That's how the devotee prays. Take away all these desires. I don't want them. All I want is you. That's the prayer of a devotee. And see how that puts us on the spiritual platform? We're acknowledging, just by praying that way, by chanting Hare Krishna the same way, we're acknowledging that I'm not this body, I'm the soul within the body. We're acknowledging that fact. And I have nothing to do with these desires. I don't want them. They're being forced upon me, the soul. By acknowledging that fire of knowledge begins, that fire of Krishna consciousness begins, and it burns away the tendency to act in that way. And that's why, the famous verse, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayat Yashu Vairagyam Gyanam Chiyata Haitukam. That by when engaging in devotional service, causeless knowledge and detachment develop. Causeless knowledge and detachment develop for that pure devotional service. And so, with all sincerity, if we can engage in chanting Hare Krishna and just fully surrender, we see that someone like me or you can become devotees of Krishna.
Reminds me of what Paul says in Romans 8. I keep doing the very thing that I don't want to do. Oh, who will deliver me from this body of death? That's the human condition.
Yeah.
We know the thing we're supposed to be doing, and we don't despise. We find ourselves.
Yeah.
It's been my entire life.
Similarly, Krishna says, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is the all-devouring, sinful enemy of self-realization. And Arjuna asks, why is one impelled to act even though he doesn't want to? It's lust only, Arjuna. But then in that purport, Prabhupada gives a very nice statement. He says, one can transcend lust by spiritual attachment. Spiritual attachment means I'm attached to the Lord, I'm attached to my guru, I'm attached to these things, and that attachment, which brings about transcendental knowledge, this rati, this attachment and attraction to Krishna, that pulls us out. And so, I have so many material desires. I'm super sarvakama, I am sarvakama personified, but I'm very attached to trying to serve my guru. And in that way, anytime there's that desire to do something that is, self-motivated, where it's like, this is good for me, I can't do it. I just can't, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do this because I know, it doesn't come from the love of my heart. And then as we advance more and more in Krishna consciousness, and I'm starting to realize this just recently, that, we stop thinking in the sense of rules and regulations. The heart really, Krishna starts talking to us in the heart, this is not coming from that place of loving service. It's coming from a place of, I want to enjoy. I have my own mission. And so, the more we can be fully engaged in Krishna's service, Krishna's mission, then, we'll find that we don't get ourselves in as many
My husband has to
heavy or hectic circumstances. This is not, actually, he's not supposed to do that, so don't worry about it. He's been told many times he's not supposed to do that. If Gurudev was here, yeah, so don't even worry about it.
That's too early.
Yeah.
Should I stop this?
Yeah, I think I'm good on the evening.
Thank you.
Joy, Hare Krishna.
When I'm in that space of like, my ego, and then I'm doing it, and then I go, there's like this